We have with us today the all-new Volvo S60 and its three rather interesting keys. Let me begin with this one here, the bright orange one. Volvo call it the care key. Now what that does is I can program this key to limit the speed of the car. So if I were to give the car to a valet or my son or someone like who I wanted to limit the speed for, well, this key will ensure that they don't exceed that set limit. I could also use this key. Now this one is, well, a waterproof key. If, for example, I were to head off into this lake for a swim, well, then I'd use this one, lock my car, keep the key with me, and nothing would happen to it. And then, of course, there is the regular key, which is, well, pretty obviously the one we're going to use today. The S60 was to arrive in the second half of 2019, but it has taken its time. Lucky for Volvo, it's an all-new platform, and so it should still have plenty of freshness. While the old car was based on an old Ford platform, the S60 uses Volvo's SPA architecture and is new inside and out. So let's begin with the interiors. Now, being built on an all-new platform, well, obviously the interiors are a huge step up from the previous generation Volvo S60. But if you know Volvos very well, then it looks all too familiar. And while the all-black interiors may not dazzle, they are well made and smack of quality, like soft touch surfaces that are all around. You've got leather all around, real leather. There's real wood too. And it looks nice and in fact has a nice little texture to it too. So feels really upmarket and plush. And then of course the knurled knobs all around here, they feel really good to operate, as do of course the switches around here. So feels very upmarket. And then there's bits, my favorite, which is this, the AC vent. If you just turn it here, wow, it clicks with such a satisfying sound. If you're the kind of person who loves popping bubble wrap, then well, you know what I'm talking about. For now, there is only one variant on offer, the inscription trim, and it's quite well spec'd. The famed Bowers & Wilkins audio system offered on the Polestar variant and the larger S90 is missing, but there's a Harman Kardon unit instead that sounds quite nice. And you also have kit like a 4-zone climate control, power drivers and passenger seats with memory, and a 9-inch touchscreen with the portrait orientation that is so Volvo. The screen is very responsive and clear, and it splits, allowing you to run Android Auto or Apple CarPlay simultaneously with the car's OS, which makes it a whole lot easier switching between the various functions. Apart from the equipment, the S60 scores very well on comfort. The front seats are broad and they are well sculpted and very comfortable. Now, importantly for a market especially like India, the comfort isn't all concentrated out there in the front. Backseat passengers too, well, are gonna enjoy the S60. Quality levels are fantastic. Again, you've got soft touch material even here. Up here, the armrest is wrapped in leather. Even the lower door pads are soft touch plastics, and that's pretty impressive. Space and comfort is pretty good. In fact, the driving seat here is set to my position. I am 5'8", and as you can see, if I sit here, I've got more than ample leg room. The seat, well, it feels a little bit short and you feel like your legs are a little higher, but apart from that, the rear is a really comfortable place. The backrest inclination is just right. The seats feel nice and contoured. And there's also this little handy armrest, which importantly in today's climate at least, has your mobile phone tray right up here and cup holders extendable over here. There's also a handy storage space underneath, and there's two Type-C USB outlets as well as AC vents in the center and on the B pillars. And now onto the exterior. Here too, it's pretty obviously hugely different from its predecessor. However, unlike the SUV line, where models have their own distinct style, the S60 looks too much like the S90. But while it does not come off as something fresh and unique, it's also undeniably attractive. The S90 is a good base to begin with, And the details like the Thor's hammer headlights, the chromed vertical bars on the grille, the sharp lower crease on the doors and the front fenders, as well as the C-shaped taillights all look very S90 and very neat indeed. What gives the S60 a different character, however, are the proportions. Where the S90 comes off as stately, the S60 is sporty. There's a nice flare at the rear haunches, and thanks to the long bonnet and relatively shorter cabin and boot section, the S60's got a neat muscle sedan-like stance. For India, the S60 comes with the 2-litre petrol engine in the T4 tune, where it puts out 190 horsepower and 300 Newton meters of torque. So what does that translate to out onto the road? Driving the S60 is really interesting. Following the sporty exterior, it has a sporty seating and a low stance, and it's all snug and sporty. But the performance, that's not actually so. Even in dynamic mode, it's just adequate. In our testing, we clocked 9.35 seconds for the 0 to 100 km/h dash, and that's just about okay. The gearbox too is relaxed with its shifts, and on the whole, the drive experience isn't what you'd call exhilarating. But the thing is, Volvo aren't really aiming for that. What they are trying to achieve with this car, well, with this particular variant at least, is a more relaxed, enjoyable cruise. And there it really hits the nail on the head. It's a really nice, relaxed cruiser. It's quite silent, the engine is refined. There is of course some tire noise, but the engine refinement, wind noise, well, it's all very well controlled. And it's great for high-speed cruising if you are just covering up miles and in no particular tearing hurry. High-speed stability is good, and even over less than perfect surfaces, the S60 tracks straight. Although it's on the firmer side, the ride quality of the S60 is in keeping with its character and ensures you're always cruising easy. It stays planted flat and it absorbs a hell of a lot, so in the cabin you don't really feel what lies beneath those tires. And of course, what Volvo is complete without a raft of safety features, and the S60 is no different. You've got of course passive safety features, but there's a host of active safety features too, like for instance adaptive cruise control, there's emergency braking, there's also emergency braking with avoidance, so well, the car will steer you away from an impact. There's also the lane keeping assist and also, well, pilot assist. And it does work pretty well. If you see right now, well, we're going around a turn. I'll let go and you can see the car making steering corrections. If of course I do have my hands off the wheel for far too long, there will be an alarm and the system will go off in case I don't get my hands back on the wheel. So, as expected of a Volvo, the S60 is packed to the gills with safety equipment. It's not the sportiest though, and we also don't know the prices yet. But going by Volvo standards, it should be pretty competitive when it launches in March 2021. And what you'd get is a very alluring, well-equipped, luxurious and quality sedan that's comfortable in its own skin. Undoubtedly a Volvo then.